Now, I think these are some really fun examples. It sounds kind of weird. Draw a picture, and I think it will make sense for you. The questions here are about finding the measure of the smaller angle formed by the hands of a clock at a particular time. So, if we were to look at a clock that says 1:40, now we're talking about an analog clock. So, I suggest that you draw a picture. It doesn't matter if it's AM or PM, right? So, if I draw just a quick little circle, where would my hands be? All right, so there's 1, 2, 3. Don't need to go all the way around. 40 is going to be, let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9. So with these clock problems, start with the minute hand. The minute hand will be pointing exactly at the right spot. So 40 minutes means it's going to be pointing right here. Unfortunately, because we're not at like a 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, the hour hand is not pointing exactly at the 1. So you've got these little marks right here in between 1 and 2. So 40 minutes means it's going to be partially between 1 and 2. So we need to find the measure of the angle that's formed here, the smaller angle. Now, this one's kind of tricky because it looks like it's a straight angle, but it's not. Directly across from 8 would be the 2. So it's a little bit less than that. So the angle is going to be this one right here. Now, let's make things really nice and easy for you. So for each hour, okay, that's the hour hand will move through 1/12 of the clock, which means it's going to move through 360 degrees divided by 12, or 30 degrees. So when the hour hand goes from 1 to 2, he is moving a total of 30 degrees, right? Whereas each minute the minute hand goes through is going to be 360 degrees divided by the 60 total minutes, and that's going to give you 6 degrees per minute. All right. So let's do the easy part here. So the easy part is figuring out how many, getting like the big degrees out of the way. So if you count this, so from 8 back here to 1, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 big jumps that you're making, 5-hour jumps. So that's going to be 30 degrees times 5. So going from the 8 to where the 1 is, that's going to be a total of 150 degrees for the angle. But then there's that small portion that hour hand has moved in the 40 minutes that you've gone through for the 1 o'clock hour. So here's how we figure this out. Okay, you have moved a portion of this 30 degrees. You've moved a small portion of that, right? So it's going to be this 150 degrees plus the portion that you've moved through. So from 1 to 140, you've gone through 40 minutes. So that means you've gone through 40 out of 60. You've gone 40/60ths, or 2/3 from 1 to 2. And keeping in mind that each hour is 30 degrees, you multiply this times 30 degrees, and that's going to tell you what this extra piece is right here. It's kind of hard to see, but that part right there. So when I do the math here, so 30 reduces with the 60 to give me 2. 40 over 2 is 20 degrees. So all told, the measure of the smaller angle there is 170 degrees. Again, you've got to measure the big chunks here. So each chunk here, so that's going to be 30 and 30, 30, 30, and 30. And then you've got that smaller portion. So if we look at the part of the clock where it goes from 1 to 2, the hour hand started off pointing at the 1. But now it's moved because it's halfway in between, because we're at 40 minutes. So what portion of this has it moved? Whoops. The portion that it's moved is going to be 40 minutes out of 60. But from 1 to 2, we've already established that that is going to be 30 degrees. So that's how we come up with the 20 degrees. All right, let's look at the next example. The next example says 5:30. All right, 5:30. Let's draw my clock, very crude clock. So 30 minutes is going to be pointing at the 6. So I've got the long arm right here. But then the 5 is right here, right? Now, the hour hand would have started off pointing at the 5, but because it's not 5 o'clock straight up, it's 5:30, the hour hand is going to be right here. So the angle that we're looking for is this piece right there. So unlike the previous problem where there are huge chunks of time, huge angle measures between the minute hand and the hour hand, we don't have that here. We just have to measure really whatever the difference is between the full-on 5, or between the full-on 6 and this whole fraction that's missing right there. So this whole part right here would have been 30 degrees. So we know it's going to be less than that. In fact, it's just going to be this. That hour hand has moved 30 minutes out of the 60 total minutes times the 30 degrees. When I reduce, 30 divided by 2 is 15 degrees. And that's my answer. That is what this small angle measure is right here. It's just 15 degrees. All right? So we're trying to find the angle measure, the smallest angle measure, and that's going to end up being this one right here. All right, so we need to figure out all the different jumps that we have going from one arm to the next. What are the big jumps, right? So we've got almost the 5, right? And just beyond the 9. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, we got 4 big jumps. And we know that each of those hour jumps, as we've mentioned before, you've got 12 hours altogether for 360 degrees. 360 divided by 12 is 30 degrees. So 4 times 30 degrees is 120 degrees. Okay. Now, if we zoom in right here, okay, let's zoom in. There's 5 and there's 4, and the minute hand is right here. So it's not at 4, it's not at 5, but it's in between. So remember that this is going to be for 25 minutes, and that's 20 minutes, but we're at 22. So we've got 3-minute segments that we're away. As we mentioned up above here, each minute is worth 6 degrees. So let's come back down here and let's put that into play. So we have 3 minutes, and each minute is worth 6 degrees. So that's going to give us 18 degrees with this portion right there. But we still have to figure out this piece right there. Well, this is where you have the portion of the hour thing that we were talking about. So we're at 22 minutes, right? So that means that the hour hand from 9 to 10 has moved 22/60ths of the way. And of that swing from 9 to 10, that is 30 degrees. So simplifying this, 30 goes into 60 twice. 22 over 2 is 11. So when I combine all of these guys together, we have, let's see, that's 9, 4, so we have 149 degrees. So 120 degrees is going to be this big chunk right here. 18 degrees is going to be this small segment right there. And this last little bit of 11 degrees, because we've gone 22/60ths of 30 degrees, we have 11 degrees. Altogether, 149 degrees.